We've been talking about keeping indoor plants healthy over the winter, and now let's get to the business of light.
Okay.
Mark opened up a big old can of worms here.
Yes, he did. Well, in a way, yes.
In a good way.
It's a good way.
Well, he talked about, how much light he would need to keep his agapanthus and lantana indoors for the winter. And the first question he had was, are there any signs he should be looking for to indicate that the plants need more light?
Well, yes, and they're going to need more light, and let's throw into now most homes that don't have a really good humidifier in the furnace are drier than the Sahara Desert.
Okay.
This is not what agapanthus and so on need. Now, you're taken into a foreign situation, so you have to adjust. You know the light is going to be less. You know it's going to be very dry. That's why the saucer with gravel, so there can be a little bit of evaporation up through the foliage. This is good. Now then, I would expect the lantana to defoliate by as much as 50%. In other words, let's just say last Saturday he brought it in, and today he takes a look, and a few leaves are starting to turn yellow. This is most apt to be the leaves in toward the center of the plant, and by next Saturday they'll be yellow and probably dropping out, and that becomes very alarming. It is the plant adjusting itself to both temperature, light, and etc. Allow that to happen. Don't panic. Don't put on extra water, because that's exactly what the plant does not need based on its growing conditions. So expect some defoliation. Expect that by March, that plant could be what I call bordering on threadbare. Leaves could be few. It'll be probably still alive. He wants to check to make sure there's no mealy bugs and scale on it, etc. But at the same time, just simply know that right then is when you can expect the days are already getting longer sunlight-wise, and growth will start because of warming. The home becomes a little bit more humid, and that's when you can start increasing the water a little bit. And that's when you'll see some little buds opening. Do not force that, because that is, again, you don't want to overwater, because you can kill roots when the plant isn't using much water. Too much water literally suffocates roots, just the same as if we went into a pool and stayed under. It just takes longer with the plant. So, yeah, expect some defoliation. Expect some yellowing. The agapanthus I have not grown, but I've observed them, and they will also yellow. A good number of what I'll call the outside, or what are the way it grows up with its strap-like growth, the bottom leaves, as they will be, can be drying up, and it could be, again, an alarming look. But just let that happen. Keep them moist so that you don't dry the root out, and yet don't try to grow it until at least mid-March.
Now, if you pop a light on in the room, is that going to be enough, or do you have to have special lighting for
Well, you can go
plants?
both ways on that, Mark. If you're trying to start seeds in a tray, you drop the incandescent lights right down to about 6 inches above the seedlings. But in a situation like his, he can use a light stand, an old-fashioned 4 lamp that has a couple of sockets, anything like that, and brighten up the room. Now, it's in this case, because you can't get as bright as the sun by any means, you're going to go with timing. Turn it on when you wake up at 6, give or take the minutes that it takes you to get out of bed.
Wake up at 6? Come on.
Right? Well, you're already at work by then, but it's a matter of going to as much as 16 hours of light a day. This is true of everything from African violets through the lantana, the agapanthus, and many other plants. If you're trying to grow them and keep them in shape, light will definitely help. It isn't going to cause them to grow per se, but it will help sustain them, because they're getting a chance to make, so to speak, make some food. No fertilization during this middle of winter period. Again, you're not trying to grow them, you're trying to keep them alive. Then you can start a little bit of liquid fertilization or water-soluble fertilizer starting that mid-March period, get them ready to go out by mid-May and so on. But it's a guessing game. Each plant has its needs.
I guess so.
But let me just add that there are now companies offering retail elements where they have grow light racks. They have bright lights, dull lights, little bitty standard lights. Don't hesitate to visit one of those, because if you really want to grow them, you can, under the lighting situation, increase the watering, increase the growth. You could have a lantana blooming during the winter, but you're going to spend $1
Yeah.
Because you need some pretty high intensity lights.
So you can go two ways. You can
That's
either
right.
really intensify the light and water and keep
Yep.
them blooming, or you can just keep them
Kinda
alive.
Let them survive. That's
And
right.